You know, truly being alone is absolutely horrifying. When you're truly alone, when you're by yourself, when you've been isolated for years and filled with tears and all of your fears, it destroys the human mind. It destroys your confidence. But as you get older, you find that there's a certain peace to isolation. Once you realize that you'll never be a father, you'll never get married, you'll never have children or grandchildren, you'll never be able to pass something down to a generation to continue your bloodline when you're gone. You'll never have these things. Going on dates, you know, honeymoons on the cruise around the world, these are things that are reserved for normal guys. And for guys like us, the world just decided to mistreat us and isolate us and devastate us and destroy us for some reason. And it's nothing that we did. I mean, what could we have done to deserve a life like this? What could we have really done? I have a theory. Well, it's not really a theory. It's basically Gnosticism, but you can't really prove this stuff, right? Even Gnosticism and all this, you can't really prove it 100%, but you can just look around and say, yeah, it's definitely 90%, 95%. With all the little story details of Sophia and the Pleroma, whatever, that could be stuff that could be made up or whatever, but there's a significant truth that a lot of us don't belong here, and whoever created this is evil and wicked. I know those for truths, absolute truths that nobody can dispute. Whoever made this realm created this realm to torture and torment us. And when you're absolutely alone with nobody, when everybody that you knew and everybody that knew you are in a casket or they're ashes or they're just gone forever and you'll never see them again, it hurts, man. I miss my grandmother, man. I miss my family members. I miss who I was a few years ago, even though I was a nobody. I miss that person. I miss who I was because even though I was I had my soul. I don't have that same soul that I had then that I have now, you know? Like I'm a different person than I was in 2020, 2021. Totally different, right? And what I mean by difference is there's certain things about myself that when those people passed away, like those things passed away inside me simultaneously as well. Nothing's worse than, being a NEET and being extremely talented, but not having the right people around you. Nothing's worse than being talented with a dysfunctional family. Nothing's worse than being talented working at a 9 to 5 job you can't stand. And that right there should tell you something, how this world is designed. This whole world is designed on a pyramid paradigm. It's designed to have the people at the top and the people at the bottom. And unfortunately, this correlates a lot with looks. Not always, because you see some people that are unattractive that are millionaires, but for the most part, people that are attractive, they have way more financial lanes to go into. They have way more financial loyalty. They have way more financial opportunities, which like makes people loyal to them, and they have a lot of loyalties that people would just want to befriend them because they're an attractive person. I know you guys seen it. The attractive person in the friend group is usually the one with the most friends, and the person that doesn't look the best is usually the one with less friends, and it's brutal. And this 4th of July, seeing couples holding hands, guys, just, kissing their girlfriends, the fireworks and all that. I know it's superficial, man. Like, I know it's not all cracked up to what it's supposed to be. Like I already know that, when couples are out there smiling, hugging, and kissing each other, they're showing you the good side. Just like when you go on Instagram, people only show you the best part of their lives. People never tell you about all the terrible things going on in their life, and people never really talk about those things, right? One, because it's private, and two, because you don't really want people in your business like that, right? And three, it's just not like in America, people are taught to just ignore their feelings and keep on working, keep on hustling. And the people that work, excuse me, the people that work the hardest and the people that hustle the hardest, these people are the ones that they seem to be getting the crap end of the stick, because the people that make all the money, they don't work hard at all. Do you think the CEO of Sony, do you think he works hard every day, waking up, going 8, 12 hours, 15 hours a day, working nonstop? No, not at all. All these CEOs, all these people, they got there because of nepotism, because of their connections to secret societies and Freemasonry and other things that people are involved in that's secret and sensitive. And it's crazy, man. And when you're a person in this world and you're like a guy like us, you're so regular, everyday, average guy, or maybe below average, right? You got a job, maybe you don't got a job, you're homeless, maybe you're not homeless, you got a car, maybe you don't got a car, you got a brother, maybe you got a sister, maybe you got a family, but we all are connected because a lot of us are isolated. When you're truly alone, man, and everybody that you loved is gone, you know, um, it brings a certain effect to your mind. It's really difficult to discuss. You see, society has a prioritization on artificial things. Society doesn't prioritize real things. This is why if this society ever comes under a nuclear attack, there's not going to be no remnants of this society at all. You can still see the Roman Colosseums. You can still see the pyramids in Egypt. You can still see those things. After countless earthquakes, floods, or whatever, those things still stand. In America, what's going to really stand? Everything's made out of plastic, damn near. Like the homes are not even being built like how they were back in the days in the 1950s when they used to build houses to last. They used to build houses sturdy. you know, Nowadays, these brand new prefabricated houses or these brand new houses, like they build them to be as cheap as possible, but as expensive as possible. You know, and that's ridiculous. You can see that this world's deteriorating right before our eyes. If you grew up in the 90s, you can tell how video games, music, food, like McDonald's and everything done changed. Things that we thought would never happen happened. Like I never thought Halo would be a crap franchise like as it is now. Like Halo was one of the reasons why I became an Xbox fanboy. You know, Back in the days with the console. Do you guys remember the console wars? Yeah. Back in the days of the console wars, man, I think that was one of the best generations with the GameCube, 360, PS3. I think that was one of the greatest generations. There were so many variations of video games. It was insane. It was amazing. It was a great time. One of the golden ages, the golden ages of gaming, really. In my opinion, the golden age of gaming. And now they're implementing that Illuminati crap where you own nothing and be happy. It's just bull crap. My thing is this: if they want to make the games where you don't own them, at least cut the price by half. Then, if we're just paying the rent, like if you're just paying the rents, like to rent the video game, at least make the game $35. I think that's a reasonable price. Not too expensive, not too cheap, right? 35 would be perfect. But anyway, man, and that's another thing. As lonely guys like us, we gotta cope. And video games were our cope. Video games, anime, drawing, writing, painting, singing, music, whatever it is. Like these are our copes. And you see these copes are slowly but surely being taken away. That's done deliberately, I truly believe something is feeding off of our misery, man. I truly believe something is taking pleasure in what it's doing to us. It sucks when you never really had a good girlfriend in your life. Like you never really had a good girl in your life. Never. That hurts, man. And it gets worse when you get older. I'm telling you guys, man, like when you get older and deep down inside, you want the love and affection of a woman. You want to feel her warmth. You want to feel her love. You want to feel her attention. You want to feel her. You want to hit it from the back and make that nanny smack. Like these are things you want to do. And of course you want to get fellatio with a high ratio. Like these are the things that you want to do, and you want to get your sexual alleviation. Right? But when you're somebody like us, man, like over the years, you like like when you become a hermit, you got to develop these different type of habits, right? Like there's certain things like when you're a hermit, like when you stay away from people, there's like a certain way that you maintain and you keep your happiness, right? And when people disturb that, it kind of irritates you, you know. And that's one thing about being a neat is like when you're a neat for a long time, it like it's just pros and cons to it. Like you guys already know, like all the real needs, they already know, like it's rising in all around the world. In China, it's called lying flat. It's lying flat in China is what it's called. I heard it's even in Italy. Like I'm like, damn, it's around the world where a bunch of young people are just looking at the 9 to 5 and they're just like it's damned if I do, damned if I don't. But unfortunately, for the majority of us, we have to work jobs that we don't like. We have to be forced to work jobs and get pennies on the dollar and get yelled at by the boss, get talked too crazy by the coworkers, get disrespected day in and day out just for a check every other week or every week or whatever. And just to make what, $800, $1,200, $1,600 a month, maybe just under 2 grand, if even 2 grand a month for a grown man. And and these jobs think that's a livable wage. It's just ridiculous, man. I don't know why. Well, I know why, but there's a reason why there hasn't been no revolts. The things they put in the food that make people more, calm. Like there's a reason why they utilize certain chemicals in food. They utilize certain chemical compositions and they integrate that into the food system because there's certain sedative chemicals they put in the food, and there's certain type of things that can give cancer causing carcinogens in the food as well. So you can simultaneously make people docile and slowly neutralize them, and they'll never know. And they'll just be all the more happy. You're like fat, happy sheep. As long as you give the sheep grass, you give the sheep water, you give it a field to play in, you let it run around. And then on the day of turning it into a pork chop, you just lead it right in there, and then it has no clues about to happen. And then once it happens, it's too late. And then now it's a pork chop. And now it's on somebody's plate, getting ate, right? And it's brutal. But that's what they're leading us into. That's what this world is coming into. And even if you're a lonely person like us, we are affected by the environments around us, like the world. The bigger aspect of everything is that if they launch a nuclear attack, it's going to affect all of us. And some of us dream of a nuclear apocalypse, like we dream of it because maybe now we can become powerful when everything's destroyed. Maybe now we can become a bandit leader, maybe now we can become make a marauder force or something like that. Maybe we become scavengers or act like those outlaws of old, right? And just try to rebuild and try to get our manhood, right? Because you can't be a man if you ain't never really had a woman, man. Like if you ain't never really had a good girl in your life and you never had sexual alleviation, you never been on a date, you never got fellatio with a high ratio with the girl just engaging in fellatio with a high ratio and she's looking you in the eyes as she's doing it, nice and slow and speeds it up and, and gets wild and nasty with it, you know, and then you start, hitting it from the back, making that nanny smack, like it's hard to feel like a man. Like people don't understand. See, if you had it before or you had it a lot of times, then it's like you can say whatever. But if you don't get it like a lot, or if you never had it, or you get it infrequently, then it's like for a man, it's something you think about. People don't understand because a lot of people, they love to like they like to stay within a social paradigm that's acceptable. They don't like to step outside those social bounds. So after a certain age, because I know we all heard it if you're old enough, like you have your parents asking you why aren't you married? You got your parents asking you why don't you have kids? And it's like, well shit, like if I was rich and if I was successful and I had my money right, then maybe those would have been options. But now I'm so like I know the truth so much that it's hard for me to even think about the concept of bringing another life into this world. First of all, you have to find a girl with the right mind on her shoulders, and good luck trying to find a girl, in the Western Hemisphere that doesn't think she's a princess with endless, infinite options. The sad thing about it is that you can get with a girl, buy her flowers, have her meet your family, meet her family, and all that, and you will still catch her, you know, in a frat house somewhere, having a party with the football, or having a Super Bowl with the football team. If you catch my drift, and it's like, damn, that's somebody's girlfriend, that's somebody's future wife, that's somebody's future baby mama, and she's in there in the frat house. Having a Super Bowl with all the football players, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal, man. Like the way this world is designed. And another thing is the experience. When you've been a lonely guy for a while, you don't really have that much experience with women. And women don't want nobody who ain't got no experience. Like women don't want nobody where this guy, they never had sex, or he had sex like so few times you can be like, you can count them on one hand. Like women don't like that. Women like somebody who, handsome, got his ish together. He can get other women, because women like that, even though they don't like to admit it. But women like when a guy can get other women besides them, especially women that are more beautiful than them. And women will really be on you then. Like if they see an even more beautiful woman talking to you than them, then they'll really try to hop on you. It's crazy. It's weird how that works. Like, have you ever seen a guy that said he's like a married man, and then the fact that he said he's married made women want him even more? It's just like, it's crazy. Like, why don't those women go and try to find out their looks max and get a guy who's not married, get a guy who's not in a relationship, get somebody who, like, why don't women do that? All right, but the modern Western woman is absolutely insane. And then I understand, due to how history was, there's been a proliferation of interracial relationships, right? And the one that everybody, doesn't really like the society on the whole doesn't really approve of it, is when you have an African American male with a European female. That is something that makes a lot of people very angry, and it's due to the historical context, right? There's a history behind that, a history that there's a whole history behind that, and why certain people feel like they just don't like that. And I'll just leave it there, right? But at the end of the day, the ones with the shekels are controlling it all. It's the ones who have the shekels that control the adult entertainment industry. The ones with the shekels, they created OnlyFans. The ones who have the shekels, they own the Hollywood industries. They own the military industrial complex. They own the United States. You know what I mean? Like, they own every nation. They own China. They own Japan. They own Russia. They own every single nation on the planet. They're just playing games in front of us. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're all related by the bloodline of the reptilian. That reptilian serpent bloodline. The blue bloods lines are not humans. They're shape-shifting interdimensional monsters. And I know it sounds ridiculous. I know it sounds like I'm crazy. I know, man. But the truth is stranger than fiction. I'll say this much. The earth and our governments, as you know it, is not ran by humans like me and you. It's why they do everything that's anti-human. Oh, you can't even own your physical disc anymore. And you may think that's something small. You may say, how does that compare to, it's easy, it's all one. They control the world. They control your video games, your entertainment. They say you ain't gonna have no disc, you don't have no disc. If they say you need to get a chip integrated, you need to get a biometrics chip integrated into your skull to enter a hospital, then you're gonna have to do it. We all seen what happened in 2020. And the ones that resisted, you seen how we were treated. You know, you know, because yeah, I'll just leave that there. But it's what a world, you're going to work every single day, you're trying to save up your paycheck, you're just thinking like, man, I can't take this, man, I can't do this anymore. I need some money. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of going through it. I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of being treated like a joke. I'm tired of not having a woman, you know? I'm tired of not being powerful. I'm tired of not feeling powerful. I'm tired of feeling powerless. Like you start to think those thoughts, right? And you know, if I was in Star Wars, I would definitely join the dark side and be a Sith. You know what I mean? If I was in Star Wars, I definitely would join the damn Empire. You know what I mean? And be like a fleet admiral or a fleet commander. With my own damn fleet. And have like a super dreadnought battleship. And then inside my ship have like a mini mansion or some shit as my own personal quarters. And go on the dark side and let my rage and passion and just all of it just out. I think we all have that, right? Going through the hell we've been through. Shit. It's hard to try to maintain your sanity. When you're in a world that's absolutely insane, it's hard to try to be the good guy when everybody around you is acting evil and wicked and sadistic. And when somebody disrespects you, when your boss yells at you at work and you can't say nothing back because you need the job, that creates rage. That creates a negative energy that you're probably going to hold on to unless you just forget about it. And then after work, have a couple of drinks or have some joints to smoke. But if you was on the dark side with the Sith, you can use a force lightning. You can throw them across the room, with your mind. You can teleport them in the volcano. You can do all these different sorts of things, man. That's why I wish I was like a Sith Lord. Like, who remembers that video game, Knights of the Old Republic? That's a classic game, and it had different variations. Like, you can play like a Sith Lord. You can play as an Imperial Inquisitor. You can play as an outlaw. You can play as a Jedi. You can play as just a regular slate. It was called Knights of the Old Republic, but they had all these DLCs to it. It has the graphics are horrible. You know what I mean? But it has some of the best voice acting and writing I've ever seen in the Star Wars, media. It's absolutely A tier. No, S tier. Triple S tier, right? And I miss that, man. God. Once you get older and everybody that you knew and loved passes away and moves on and you're by yourself, and you're not rich, and you're a man, and you have the skin color configuration that everybody has an irritation and an annoyance and an avoidance to, that is rough. That's something that a lot of people are not going to be able to deal with. And there's a reason why, like, even before I started making videos, there was other people on here who are legends. They were legends. And you guys know who I'm talking about. There's a few people on there who were legends, and they end up doing a Japanese honorable neutralization. And upon this Japanese honorable neutralization, they left this dimension. And once they left this dimension, who knows what happened? They may have been loosed or whatever, but we're all going to go through that. And we're all going to get loose. We're all going to pass away once we leave this dimension, unfortunately. The demiurge are going to be waiting to loose us. I know it, and mind wipe us. Or something worse, I'm hoping it's nothing at all, but please, it's going to be something wicked once we pass. But it shows you how hard it is when you have people who are intelligent, articulate, and they succumb to this negative energy in this world. There's so much negativity. There's so much things that go wrong that shouldn't. Like you can be having a really bad day, and then you order something from Amazon, and then let's say you order 4 TV dinners and a couple of juices, some apples. Next thing you know, like they pull up and say it's delivered, and the only thing you got was one juice, and like in your apples, and you're like missing half your order, and then like you may got somebody else's order or no order at all. Like you may have somebody else's order of like some onions, and some potatoes. Like what the hell is this? I didn't order this. And like your order's messed up, but then on the app it says it's been delivered and you have everything there. So it's like stuff like that can just randomly happen. And you're like, what the hell's going on? And it happens in times where you really need it. So that's one thing we got to be careful about, is that I noticed that whenever you get too happy or you get too joyful as a lonely person in this position, that bad things just appear out of nowhere just to try to bring you low. It's like there's beings that are watching us. They're monitoring our minds. They're monitoring our minds. They're monitoring our thoughts. They're monitoring our life progression. They're watching everything we say, what we do. They just watch us. They're called monitoring spirits. And if our life gets too good or too much in a positive direction, they're there to derail it. They're there to send. They're there to to monitor, report, and then the demiurge to send something into our life to loose us. You know, like you see it every time. You know, the only time you can really meet beautiful girls and in a social situation is when you're in school, when you're in college, and when you're younger. But for the most part, when you're in school, like your last chance is when you're in college. When you reach to college and you don't have a girlfriend or a wife or a fiance or nobody dating you by college, and it's like the third, second year in college, it's over. It's over, you know, because you hear college stories about guys in their early 20s. They're just, they're having three, four, five, several women at once. It's like, damn, it's just ridiculous. Like they're having an ancient Roman, can I say that word? That they're having an ancient Roman, lovemaking party, and it's crazy, right? But then there's people that are virgins and they're grown adults. It's like, damn, nothing turns a woman off more than when she hears that there's a grown man in her presence that's a virgin. Like women are disgusted by that, even though the act of sexual activity in itself is kind of disgusting. If you think about it, the bodily fluids, the exchanging of desirable passions and etc. etc. But if a woman sees a guy that's a virgin and he's a grown man, like a girl, like I'm talking about past 25, and if a woman knows that, she's gonna look at that guy like what? Like she's gonna be disgusted. She's not gonna want nothing to do with that guy. But if a woman sees Chad and he just got through, having a sexual engagement with her best friend, but behind the Taco Bell, and she's gonna be happy with that, she's gonna smile and then want him even more because she knows that he can get girls. Like she's not his only option. He got lots of options, and it's crazy. Did you guys see that Rehab Room video where I think Rehab Room was showing this girl was talking about how she was dating this one guy and he didn't clean his butt. Like what kind of nasty crap? Like the guy didn't clean his butt. Like he would use the bathroom but not flush. He was unsanitary. He was stinking, and this woman was still with him. She was still with him. Still with him. And I'm just like, I think eventually they broke up, but she was saying like how he smelled like rotten chicken. And I'm like, if you see a man that doesn't have the basic necessity to take basic hygiene to clean his behind after he goes to the bathroom or take a shower or something, like he just goes to the bathroom and doesn't even bother to flush, why would you want to lay up with somebody like that? She was saying she was going to marry him and all that. Why would you want to marry somebody like that? Why would you want to have a baby with somebody that's unsanitary? What's wrong with women? You don't date nobody who can't clean who doesn't have proper hygiene. That's absolutely disgusting. That's absolutely abhorrent, and it's disgusting, and it's repulsive. It's absolutely repulsive indeed. Why would a woman want to give her intimate parts to somebody who doesn't wipe their butt, but then somebody who's a nerd guy that liked her for 15 years and he's nice, she'll totally ignore that guy and go with the Chad. And they wonder why people get depressed. They wonder why guys in this position just say, F it, you might as well just be alone because it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's brutal. Absolutely brutal how this world is, man. I truly wish we lived in another dimension. I truly wish we lived in a different world where your hard work actually pays off instead of your hard work making you get a little paycheck and keep coming back to work forever until you pass away. Truly wish I was a multimillionaire. I wish I had the wealth, the money, and the power and everything I ever desired, man, because life would be so much better then. I'll be able to actually live. I'll be able to actually be happy and actually have things instead of being in this position where you're just trapped. And, it's just a sad devastation.